when you set out to do that?
Again, all I have to do is sit here and agree with James, but I think he's already said it.
Well, I think the first thing you've got to do is read that origin and really think about what it is. Like with Alan Scott, Alan Scott and the Starheart represents the chaos and evil, magical energy, elemental energy, the stuff that science can't sort of explain. It's all contained in the Starheart. Finding the lantern in the original origin, it goes back to sort of the myths. I mean, they were going to call him Alan Ladd at one point, like Aladdin, because it's meant to convey like a folklore, a story from folklore. So looking at that and thinking about, well, you know, I'm sort of telling a folklore, a fairy tale, and trying to sort of, but then make it into something that's hopefully smart and sophisticated for the present day. But in answer to that question, and like I say, to reiterate, I don't really like to do it very often, but when you have to just really respect that origin and not try and be so clever that that you ultimately lose track of where it all began. You know, what that origin. You know, like for instance, a terrible thing to do would be like to reveal that the Punisher's wife was actually a mob. You know, was a mob with protective custody or something, or some weird thing. That's the wrong thing to do when you mess around. You know, he lost his family. It's pure and simple. So that's what I try to do, is just try and keep it clean and simple.
Well, and also, I mean, thinking about this more, there are some things that you just have to take as given. There's some starting point somewhere in any story, and origin stories are obviously a point of that. But I was thinking, spinning off that, people who saw the TV series Alias, I mean, every once in a while it would be revealed that somebody wasn't what they seemed to be. But by the last season, every episode, 3 people turned out not to be what, I mean, it's just like, so that after a while you couldn't trust anybody. You didn't know what was supposed to be real and what wasn't real. And when you lose that, you lose everything, you know? So the origin story is really sort of the summation of what's real, you know? Everything stemmed from that, or should. And if you can't, you know, if you change the origin story, you've changed the reality. You flip the reality.
It does. The origin does help you to define the character and his actions. And I can think of an example. It's one that Dan DiDio cites as an error that was made at one point, which was in the Amazon's Attack series, which you may or may not have read. But it ends with Batman using magic. And Dan says it was a mistake to do that because Batman doesn't use magic. He's a detective, and the origins kind of defines that. It isn't a fantasy. It's a crime story. So that's something that the origin helps you to do. A good one helps define the parameters of the story you're telling, or the character's actions in the story, even if you don't refer to that origin.